Hello everybody. Now we're going to start the conference with engineer Dominico Brigante and architect Simona Pegorari. They are going to tell us about the carbon fiber design contest of 2015. I will leave now the talk to them.
Good afternoon. This is the fourth year of this design contest that we decided to organize in 2011 to give visibility to the carbon fiber inside the design and architect world. So we had the sponsor, the University of Naples, and since 2 years we decided also to add the carbon fiber design contest 3D. 3D because in the last times the 3D technology has been very became very important for designing and prototyping. For the technical side, I give the word to Dominico.
Thank you. We decided to realize this contest just to introduce the technology of 3D printing linked to the material, the carbon fibers, because as Simona said, in the last 4 years the technology of 3D printing is always more and more important now in our market, and but the most important thing is to link this technology with new innovative materials. So we decided to work with carbon fibers because it's a material that represents the future, the present, but also the future of this technology. Because if you just use plastic like ABS or PLA, you can't obtain strong mechanical properties. While using new filaments like this one, the one you can see here, this is a filament created with PLA and carbon fibers, you can realize objects with very strong mechanical properties. So we decided to link these technologies, this material, innovative materials, with the design. And we have the 4th edition of this prize. And in this prize, this year we decided to propose the realization of modular elements for the interior design. So these elements you can see on the left, the winners of the contest. The winners of the contest we realized smaller, as you can see near here, but we decided to realize these prizes with the carbon fibers in PLA, just to show how thin can be this material, the realization of these elements. And we decided to choose 3 winning projects, and especially the first one is this one. The winner of this year is this one. You can see here it's very small, but the real dimension is 14 for the 15. And this model is the third one you can see on my left, and it is possible to realize with this element, chairs, tables, and a lot of interior elements. So we decided to choose a project that can obtain, that can give us the possibility to realize different interior elements. While the second winner is the 5th one, okay, and on my left, and it's a library. Also in this case we have a smaller element. In this case the original elements, the dimension of the original elements is 40-40, but you can change in function of the machine used to print it. So you can use modules to assemble, to realize the library as you want. Okay, so if you prefer to realize a library in a room linked to the other elements in the room, you can choose 1, 2, 3, 4, a couple of elements. Well, the third one is the fourth one on my left, and it's a modular wall. It's not a wall, it's just a division between parts of a room. the base model is a cell. Okay, this one is the base model. Also in this case it's 3 times bigger than this, the original elements. While when you link the elements, you have something like this, okay? And you can separate rooms in an apartment. If you want to live like in an open space, you can use these elements to divide different parts of the room, of the loft. These projects are very, very simple, but the important thing is that with this technology it's possible to print in your home the elements. So with if you need 10 cells, 100 cells, you can print with your own printer. This is very easy. To print this one, you need no more than not this one, the bigger one, not this, the real one of this. You need something like 30 minutes. When with the technology will change, I hope in the future, as the time to print these elements will become I don't know, 10 minutes. Will become 10 minutes, I hope. But the target of the modularity of this contest is that if you have a printer, now the common printer are 20 centimeter for 40 centimeter, 25, 37, 25, something like this. Now we are there are printers 40, 16. But if you want to realize a table, now you are not able to realize a table with the printer you have in your house. While realizing modular elements, you can use this technology to realize everything you want with this technology. And the use of carbon fiber is also very important, because if you realize a chair, just a plastic chair, to obtain the mechanical properties of a real chair, you need to use so much material, and you need to use I don't know, 1 centimeter of this is like 2 millimeters, while just with plastic is 3 times, and you spend more money, you spend more time, and the design is not the same. So the target is to use the properties of the material to obtain the design that we want in our house. So the designer could realize what his object, and could really send a file in our house, and we start printing our chairs, or we start printing our library, or whatever we want. And we don't need to buy out of our house a new element of our library. If you want to change the geometry of your library, you just print another element and you obtain what you want.
Question, or what do you think about composite materials? Now, because the contest is a carbon fiber design contest, 3D. 3D is already talked about, but what do you know about composite materials? What is, in your opinion, a composite material? No answer? You? Well, a composite...
Yeah, I don't know. We work in the composite of also wood together with carbon, so but I think it's the future of realizing those very complex geometries in a very strong and elegant way. Because, for example, our bike would never be possible without the composite technology, because it will never be so elegant as it looks like. It will always be much more rigid, much more wasting materials and stuff. But yeah, when you compose the woods, together, or even if you use just carbon, doesn't matter, but if you compose the material, you get much more strength, much more durability, and then you get much more elegance, much more stream. But actually it's very natural for me, because we also went through a lot of research about the nature. There's a lot of composites in the nature itself, so I think it's a very natural thing, and it came to the human life.
It's also because anything is a composite. Also in the nature, you can find the wood structures is composite. You have fibers and matrix. So we are just copying what is the nature of in anything we can see.
Well, the classic example, what is a composite material, is the wood or the straw and mud house. Because straw and mud walls are a classic composite. Because a composite, the technical definition, is a material that is made by two or more other materials, but the material that comes out is completely different from the others. So it is stronger, and it is also different in the aspect. So a composite is very interesting for an architect or for a designer, because with composite materials you don't design thinking about the material that will be used for your design to realize your projects, but you do your design, your project, how do you want. And then is a composite material that will follow you in your project. This is a very important matter, because composite means that you can do whatever you want, and you have a lot of freedom of creativity, composite materials. And then don't forget that there is not only carbon fiber composite, that is the top, but there is also glass fiber composite that it is much used, and we are always dealing with glass fiber composites. And also carbon can be used, as Dominico can tell you, to reinforce structures that need to be reinforced and not remain. Go on.
Our company uses composite materials to reinforce, for example, wood structures or concrete structure or steel structure. In seismic reinforcement, it's possible to use for the architects. You can use composite materials to reinforce beam or columns, and you can realize this kind of reinforcement without change of geometry and of the aesthetic changes. It is very important because you don't change the surface of the structure, you don't change the free spaces while reinforcing. With traditional materials, you need to change the geometry, or for example, to realize bigger columns or new geometry, also to reinforce bolts and arcs. So these materials are very important for design, but also for the design of structural reinforcement. Even because we are working now with many important architects, but also for the realization of very particular geometry. The most important architect in the world uses new materials. Also the simple concrete reinforced with the short fibers, it helps you to realize new design. Your target, you have an idea, and with these materials you can realize new project that with the traditional materials you are not able to realize. And if you study the materials used from the most important architects in the world, you can see that now the composite materials are very, very important as Simona said, carbon fibers, glass fibers, aluminum fibers, concrete reinforceable fibers, but also in your case, wood reinforceable fibers. So you need to link the mechanical properties of these materials with your target. You have a of 2040 gigapascal or 400. So you can change not just carbon fiber. Okay, carbon fiber or glass fiber is a word. You can have so many different materials also inside the carbon fibers, because you have many different fibers, monoaxial, biaxial. But the main, I don't want to go inside the specific mechanical properties. I just want to explain that the target of using this material is to obtain your design. So you can obtain very innovative design with these new technologies and these new materials. And it's very important to link the 3D printing with this material, because you can really realize your prototype. Easy. It's very easy to realize a prototype, and not just a prototype, but a prototype that have also mechanical properties. So you can realize a chair, your chair. I don't want to repeat, but it's very important, because you can realize your chair without spending so much money, because you are designer, so you know how much money you need to realize your first piece, your first project. While with the 3D printing and this material, you can realize your design without spending so much money. But it's not just a design, but you can sit on your chair. This is, I think, this is the main target of our contest, and because I think that design is a very particular word. But if you don't link the design with the engineering and with the technology, the production technology, you don't gain nothing. You don't reach your target. So if you are able to spend not so much money and not so much time to realize your idea, this is our real target, and it's an important help to the designer to reach easily and his target.
I have a small question. Carbon fiber and composite materials are very young technology, let's say, and despite, for example, other technologies older, like reinforced concrete, that is under development since 100 years, for example. What do you think, in your opinion, during your contest, in the last 4 years, did you have an enhancement on the design, for example, for instance?
Composite material, the use of composite, the first composite material is about 50 years old. 60? Yes.
First composite materials were used in the USA in the end of the 40s of last century. So it's not a new product, it's not a young product. It is that it can be expensive, and it can be, well, you must know how to calculate it and how to produce it. But it's not a young product. So I think, from my point of view, you talked then about the building and construction industry. It depends on the industry, because composites were born in the early side of the industry, because as a new material to be developed. And that's why they start using it in the airplanes and the aerospace. So this kind of industry is growing well, and it is always using more carbon and composite, not only carbon, composite materials. Same you can say in the last 30 years for the automotive. because now automotive you have to save fuel and composite materials are light. So it is the best, sorry, is the first choice to build something that is very light. There are other industries like design, product design, and building industry. For few people like Dominico are always very, very traditional, and they don't like the idea to use something different from concrete reinforced with steel or things like that. He can explain you better.
I think the most important thing is that you can see our airplane, and the new Airbus is almost completely in carbon fiber, and the solicitation in the aerospace or for an airplane are dynamic solicitation and are very, very different, while in the design or in civil engineering we have static solicitation. So if our plane are working for 30 years, 40 years, realize it in composite materials, the question is why not to use in these materials when the solicitation are static solicitation? Because you just need to calculate the quantity of material you need to use for your design, and you have this solicitation, a static solicitation, while the aerospace or the automotive have a completely different kind of solicitation, completely different solicitation, and also you have solicitation cycles, very long solicitation cycles. So I think that the experience in the aerospace first, then in the sport, automotive, and now in civil engineering and design is very, very important, and will bring us in a future with the use of these materials, I hope, also in the design. Even if I just saw something in the design, but I also saw design elements that only want to use the aesthetical properties of carbon fibers. But our target is not just to use the aesthetical properties, but the mechanical properties of this material. Because as in any kind of design, the target is to use the properties of the material, not just the aesthetical properties, but the mechanical properties. Because if you want to do something special, you just need to use the mechanical or the peculiarity of the material you are using for your design.
The question would be, despite from the costs of the material, what would be the reason the carbon fiber is used that less? I mean, in the design industry, because however, in design industry there are several different, so many different composite materials are used for any objects, but carbon fiber actually is a really less used. I mean, is there any possibility that because of the features of the material, or just that we can define with the costs are so much, and in order to make them less, what can be the solution?
Well, personally, I think that the problem is a marketing kind of problem. I mean, because we are not talking only about carbon fiber design, but also glass fiber design, why not? Composite. But the point is that people don't know exactly what a composite material is. So they don't use it as it should, like Domenico said, for his own advantages to the project and to the designer. And now the industry is not, doesn't have really clear the idea of why they should use another material instead of wood or plastic that it is not requested, because people don't know. That's all. Do you think that big important architects like Zaha Hadid are designing what they design thanks to carbon composite or composite materials? But you should be able to teach people to see that there are different possibilities and different materials and the market. Once you produce more objects, the cost goes down. This is not just normal marketing. And I don't think there is any special reason. Just that the market is, the industry is not, or it didn't understand yet what can be done with composite materials, like your bike, like other bikes, like furniture. There are a lot of different aspects. But, when Prada started to participate to the World Cup, to the America's Cup, they also made some lines of bags or jackets with carbon pieces or composite. But they didn't have a lot of success because it was just a kind of very small contest. So you need to sell it in another way, not only to keep it inside the small contest like America's Cup, Formula One cars, this sort of stuff. No? What do you think?
And I think that is also very important in engineering, because you can realize an element with the carbon fibers, but for example, if you want to realize 4 millimeters of carbon fibers, you can use different technologies, because you can use a layer carbon fiber, and inside you can put AIM with polyurethanic AIM. So you put on one layer of carbon fibers, polyurethanic AIM, and another layer of carbon fiber, because you need the mechanical properties just in these two different layers. While if you just think to evaluate the price of 3 millimeters of just carbon fibers, you think it's crazy. Okay, so also, as in this case, it's very, very important the link between engineering and design. This is, I think, the most important thing. If you have a good architect or designer and a good engineer, you can also realize a good design with a good price. This is the main problem. And also, I think that the prototypization of carbon fibers elements has a price. But if you use these technologies, you can reduce this price. So it is very, very important also for this.
Are there any other questions? No? So I think we would like to thank very much Simonetta, Pegorari and Dominico Brigante for their presence here and for their introduction and to the composite material, and thank you very much.
Last but not least, we invite you to participate to the next edition of Carbon Fiber Design Contest 2016, 15/16, and we shall be happy to see your projects. Okay? Yeah? Yes, there is a website.
The website is ad3dprinting.com. This is the name of the association that realized this contest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If Do you think that big important architects like Zaha Hadid are designing what they design thanks to carbon composite or composite materials? But you should be able to teach people to see that there are different possibilities and different materials and the market. Once you produce more objects, the cost goes down. This is not just normal marketing. And I don't think there is any special reason. Just the market is, the industry is not, or it didn't understand yet what can be done with composite materials, like your bike, like other bikes, like furniture. There are a lot of different aspects. But, you know, when Prada started to participate to the World Cup, to the America's Cup, they also made some lines of bags or jackets with carbon pieces or composite, but they didn't have a lot of success because it was just a kind of very small contest. So you need to sell it in another way, not only to keep it inside the small contest like America's Cup, Formula 1 cars, this sort of stuff. No? What do you think?
And I think that this is also very important in engineering, because you can realize an element with the carbon fibers, but for example, if you want to realize 4 millimeters of carbon fibers, you can use different technologies, because you can use a layer carbon fiber, and inside you can put AIM with polyurethanic AIM. So you put on one layer of carbon fibers, polyurethanic AIM, and another layer of carbon fiber, because you need the mechanical properties just in these two different layers. While if you just think to evaluate the price of 3 millimeters of just carbon fibers, you think it's crazy. Okay, so also, as in this case, it's very, very important the link between engineering and design. This is, I think, the most important thing. If you have a good architect or designer and a good engineer, you can also realize a good design with a good price. This is the main problem. And also, I think that the prototypization of carbon fibers elements is as a price, but if you use these technologies, you can reduce this price. So it is very, very important also for this.
Are there any other questions? No? So I think we would like to thank very much Simonetta, Pegorari and Dominico Brigante for their presence here and for their introduction and to the composite material, and thank you very much.
Last but not least, we invite you to participate to the next edition of Carbon Fiber Design Contest 2016, 15/16, and we shall be happy to see your projects. Okay? Yeah? Yes, there is a website.
The website is ad3dprinting.com. This is the name of the association that realized this contest. Thank you so much.